Felt, who was the deputy associate director of the FBI, died at the age of 95 in 2008, 3 years after confirming his identity as Deep Throat, a secret that Woodward and Bernstein had kept for more than 3 decades. In the new movie, Liam Neeson plays Felt with a kind of lugubrious sincerity. He's an unhappy man, beset by professional and personal woes, and he makes his secret alliance with Woodward for reasons that are both admirable and vengeful. Felt is appalled by Watergate, but he's also bitter that he was passed over for the directorship of the FBI. Following the death of his boss, J. Edgar Hoover, in 1972. The follow-the-money sentiment refers to Felt's instruction to Woodward to examine how the Watergate burglary was financed. Who paid the 5 men who broke into the Democratic National Committee's headquarters at the Watergate complex on June 17, 1972? Who paid for their lawyers after they were caught? Woodward learned that the money came from Nixon campaign contributors and people associated with the Committee for the Reëlection of the President, the notorious creep. Woodward and Bernstein unraveled some of those ties, but they were never the heart of the scandal or the reason that President Richard Nixon was ultimately forced from office. In crude terms, Watergate was more about power than about money. Nixon approved of the Watergate break-in and then stage-managed the cover-up because he wanted to win re-election. Nixon came from humble roots. In his Checkers speech in 1952, while defending himself against charges involving a political expense fund, he painstakingly and defiantly detailed his financial standing. "It isn't very much," and noted that his wife, Pat, wore not a fur coat, but a respectable Republican cloth coat. Whatever Nixon's many flaws, few would argue that personal enrichment was a key motivator of his life. The same can be said of Nixon's inner circle, including John Mitchell, H.R. Haldeman, John Ehrlichman, and John Dean, none of whom sought to gain financially through Nixon's political victories. Led by Nixon, they primarily wanted to use the presidency to advance their ideological goals and to punish their political enemies. In Watergate, to follow the money was to learn only part of the story. The opposite appears to be true in the case of Donald Trump and the 2016 campaign. It's hard to believe that Trump ever thought he was actually going to become president, but it is clear that he thought that he could use the campaign to enrich himself, which, after all, has been the motivating force of his life. In announcing his run for office, he said, "I'm very rich." The campaign was an exercise in brand management, an attempt to leverage the Trump name into bigger deals around the world. Paul Manafort, who had had dealings with both Russian and Ukrainian oligarchs and was, for a time, Trump's campaign chairman, seems to be among those who recognized the possibilities of seeking wealth abroad and power at home. His dealings are now a focus of Robert Mueller's investigation. At this point, the precise nature of Trump's connections to Russia remains a mystery, but whether through staging a Miss Universe pageant in Moscow or pursuing the construction of a hotel in that city, Trump hoped to profit from the oligarchs who control the Russian economy. In turn, their patron, Vladimir Putin, wanted to prevent Hillary Clinton from becoming president. At the heart of the current investigations is whether and to what extent these two objectives merged. Almost certainly, the key to answering that question is financial. Money played an important role in Watergate, but it was a means to an end, political power. For Trump, money has been the end in itself. At the moment, it appears that he may survive his scandal in the way that Nixon could not surmount his. But if Trump is to fall, it will likely be in part because the investigators take the advice of Holbrooke's Mark Felt and really do follow the money.